12 learners. Welcome to today's economics lesson. My name is Mr. Berry. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. Grade 12, today, our knowledge area will be macroeconomics and economic pursuit. We are going to revise for paper 1. Right. So we are revising for your November examination paper 1. By the end of the lesson, we should be able to answer November examination paper. So our objective is that you get ready, you prepare, and you become ready for your examination paper, paper 1. So we are going to use May-June examination 2022 paper 1. So your May-June paper of 2022 paper 1. Right. So and another thing, just to remind you that examination guideline, it is a very key, important document that you can use for your preparation. So you need to use your examination guideline. All right. Our assessment plan for 2024, paper 1, it's at 150 for 2 hours. So by now, you should know that paper 1, there is macroeconomics, there is economic pursuit in macroeconomics. I will keep on emphasizing this. Macroeconomics, you need to know your secular flow, business cycle, public sector, foreign exchange market. Economic pursuit, you need to know your protectionism and free trade, economic growth and development, regional development, economic and social indicators. It is important for you to revise these topics using your examination guideline and then your textbooks and any other resources that you may have so that you get ready for your paper 1. Right, so some examination tips for easy marks to score on your paper. You can score easy mark on section A 1.1, 16 marks, multiple choice. You do not do guesswork. You need to eliminate wrong answers so that you are left with 2. Then you can find the most correct answer. At the end, you can just browse through and check if you are having 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D. And also when you are using your previous question paper to revise, I'm talking about your May-June paper or November paper from your national senior certificate. I'm not talking about the one that you may find from the district, from the province. We're talking about a national one where we see usually they put 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D. So you can't find this on all the question paper. Then you have matching of columns. For you to save time, you must start with column B, read the description, then go find a terminology, right? So you can score easy marks there as well. You can score easy marks on 2.1.1, where they're asking you to list, to name. This apply on question 3 as well, 3.1.1, 4.1.1. Then you can score easy marks again on the data respond question, the first 3 questions on your data respond. This can be on 2.2, 2.3, 3.2, 3.3, 4.2, and 4.3. So the first 3 questions, the 1 mark, 1 mark, and 2 mark, those are your easy mark. Then 2.4, 2.4, here you just need to remember information from the class. It's the middle order question. You're remembering information. 2.4, 3.4, and 4.4. So this is where you score your easy marks. This does not include the essay. And also, I would say essay, you can really score that 30 mark as an easy mark for you because you come to the exam already prepared, knowing few essays, and then from those few, one of them must come. So that 30 marks it's like that. The question will be asked like that. The only thing that will be different there is the additional part. Also, you need to do what? You need to go through your subject content. The emphasis become on examination guideline. You need to make notes, do mind maps, use your textbook, any other resources that you have. Once you have covered all the content, now you go back to your previous question paper and you attempt answering those question paper. You need to attempt answering as many question paper as possible so that you get used to answering the question paper, so that you don't get surprised when you go to the exam. Right. So grade 12, so we're going to look at our 1.3 question. Right, 1.3 question. So you have 1.3.1 to 1.3.6. You're going to answer that. Then we'll look at the possible answers. Right, your time is up. 1.3.1, an exchange rate system where the value of currency is determined solely by the market force. That is free floating. So exchange rate is determined by the demand and supply. The flow of goods, services, and the factors of production between household and businesses. So what is flowing here? Goods, services, and factors of production. What flow is that? It is a real flow. A flow of money is your income and expenses. Business cycle that are caused by changes in construction activities lasting from 15 to 20 years. They are also known as building cycles. Those are Kuznets. 1.3.4, selling goods on a foreign market at a price lower than the cost of production in one country of origin. That's dumping. Infrastructure and investment that improve the overall welfare of society. Social infrastructure, fiscal capital, and social capital. Measures the number of children that die before the age of 1. That is your infant mortality. Right? We're going to move to section B. 2.1.2. How are leading indicators used in forecasting of business cycle? So grade 12, again, you need to do what? You need to structure your question and then structure your responses and then understand what you are asked. How are leading indicators used in forecasting of a business cycle? Right. So leading indicators are those ones that changes before the economy changes. So how are we using them to forecast the business cycle? I'll give you 2 minutes to discuss this one. Then you look at our marking guideline. Right. So our marking guideline, it says the leading indicators are used by economists to get an idea of what to expect in the near future as they change before a business cycle changes. Right. So remember they tend to change before the business cycle change. So we can use it to predict or to see what we are expecting in the future. They give consumer businesses and the state a glimpse of direction in which the economy may be heading. So they can give us, consumers and businesses and the government, an idea where the economy is going. So we can use it to forecast, to predict what is going to happen. Right, let's look at 2.2. Study the extract and answer the question that follow. Right, so 2.2.4, let's look at the question. What is the value of multiplier in a 4-sector model smaller than a 2-sector model? So a 2-sector model, we're talking about businesses and household only. The 4-sector model, it includes now the government and the foreign sector. So the question is asking you why the value when we calculate multiplier using 4-sector is small compared to when we calculate multiplier using the 2-sector. Question number 5, 2.2.5. Question number 2, 2.2.5. Using the MPC of 0.6, calculate the change in the national income if there's an investment of 250. Show all calculation. So you must find the multiplier first. After finding the multiplier, you must calculate the multiplier effect. Right, you have 5 minutes to answer 2.2.4 and 2.2.5. Right, grade 12, let's look at the marking guideline. What is the value of multiplier in a 4-sector smaller than the one in a 2-sector multiplier, 2-sector model? Right, so the 4-sector multiplier will look like this. It's what the 2-sector is 1 over MPS, or we can say 1 minus MPC, right? Then the 4-sector will be 1 over MPS plus marginal rate to tax plus marginal propensity to import. So there are many leakages, savings, taxes, and import. So leakages does what to the multiplier? I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. What does leakages do to the multiplier? Those who said leakage will decrease the multiplier, you are correct. So the more leakages are there, the lower the multiplier. So 4-sector multiplier, it means that there are more leakages. With a 2-sector model, it means that there's only a leakage of savings. So that's why the value of multiplier will be higher here. If you're only considering savings, it means there's not much leakages. But then the 4-sector model, there's too much leakages. Right. So let's look at the response. The size of multiplier will be smaller as there will be more leakages. When there is a 4-sector model, there will be more leakages. So the size of multiplier will be less because there are more leakages. We've introduced taxes and imports. With a 2-sector model, there's only savings. 2.2.5, using MPC 0.6, calculate the change in national income if there's an investment of 250. So we must calculate a multiplier first, right? So to calculate your multiplier, you are given 0.6. So you're going to use that formula of K is equals to 1 over 1 minus MPC because you are given MPC. If you are given MPS, you're going to say K is equals to 1 over MPS for you to get the multiplier. And then after getting the multiplier, you need to now calculate the multiplier effect. And for you to get the multiplier effect, you must say KE is equals to K, the answer that you get here, times this investment. Right, so we start by finding the multiplier. K is equals to 1 over 1 minus MPC, 1 over 1 minus 0.6, which is your MPC, 1 over 0.4 is equals to 2.5. So your multiplier is 2.5. Right, so multiply is 2.5. Now the question, your answer is not complete because it says what? It's not saying calculate multiplier. It says calculate the change in the national income if investments was 250. So this 250 is going to multiply by 2.5. So you're going to say KE is equals to K times I, right? So, or the other way, I times K. So your I is 250 times 2.5, or you say 2.5 times 250, and then your answer is 625 M. So that is your national income. Right. So your new national income is 620. Right, let's look at 2.3. It says study the extract below and answer the question that follows. So you're going to read the extract, then you answer 2.3.4, 2.3.5. Let's look at 2.3.4. 2.3.4 says explain the effect on business cycles when there is an increase in household consumption. What will happen to the business cycle when people are spending more? Right. 2.3.5, how can the government use taxation to stimulate economic recovery? It means, where are we? We are here, somewhere here. So we need to stimulate this economy. So how can the government use taxation to stimulate the economic recovery for us to go up again? What can the government do to stimulate that? So grade 12, you are given 5 minutes to answer 2.3.4 and 2.3.5. All right, grade 12, your time is up. Let's look at your responses. Explain the effect on business cycle when there is an increase in household consumption. Household consumption, it means that there's more money in circulation, production will increase, right? So when you're thinking of the business cycle, you're thinking of the phases when people are buying. What happens? At what phase are we at, right? And then it will trigger what phase as well. Aggregate demand will increase, encouraging businesses to produce more and turning business cycle to an upswing. So as more people are buying, production is increasing, we are going upswing. So the business cycle will go up. Increase in consumer spending will attract more investment, expanding economic activities. So an increase in consumer spending will attract more investment that will expand economic activities. Again, the business cycle will be heading upwards. Increase in economic activity will create more employment. Increase in aggregate demand could increase demand pool inflation. So as we're going up, remember, so whatever activity that is happening, we're going up, upswinging. Once we reach here, up here, this can be a problem. We'll have inflation as now people are having more money than the goods that is being produced, and that will result in a demand pool inflation. Let's look at 2.3.5. How can the government use taxation to stimulate economic recovery? So it means that we are there by trap. So how can we stimulate the recovery? What do we do with taxation? So we need to look at, are we increasing, are we decreasing? What is the effect? If we are increasing taxation, what will happen to consumers, right? If we were to increase the indirect taxes like VAT, they may not afford. Would the economy recover? No. If we increase direct tax like your payee, what will happen to the disposable income? The disposable income will decrease. then they won't be buying much. So will the economy recover? No. The opposite of that will result in economic recovery, right? And also remember, we have corporate tax as well. What do we do with the corporate tax? Do we increase? Do we decrease? Remember, we want them to produce more. So if we want them to produce more, we need to reduce it in that manner because we want them to produce more. Taxes can be a disincentive to producers, right? Let's look at the possible answers. Reduce personal income tax to increase household disposable income and stimulate aggregate demand in the economy. So the government can decrease personal income tax. In that case, there's more money in our pocket, and then we start demanding that will increase production and the economy may increase as well. Decrease corporate income tax. You see this one, the corporate income tax, right, can be reduced so that it increases what the profit prospects of a business so that they can be able to produce more and more goods and services. And in them, when they produce, the economy is going to recover. There will be production and they'll be hiring more people. Indirect taxes such as VAT and some excess duties may be reduced to stimulate more consumption. More consumption, it means that there will be more production and then that may stimulate the economy. Provide tax exemptions or tax holidays to newly established businesses such as that they can establish themselves and produce more. So new businesses may be given time off from paying tax relief so that they can produce more. And then remember, production will increase what? Employment as well, that can stimulate the economic growth. Right. So your answer should be along the reduction of taxation in order to stimulate the recovery. If you've answered that they must increase taxation so that government have more money to spend on public goods and services, that is not a direct answer. So you are taking it too long, so it is incorrect. So your answer should be direct to what you are asked. Right, let's look at 2.5 question. Analyze the challenges faced by South Africa in international trade. So international trade is the buying and selling between different countries. What is the challenges? So what are challenges faced by South African when it comes to the trading between countries? Right, grade 12, you have 5 minutes to answer this one. You need to write 4 full sentences. Then we'll look at the responses and the marking guideline. Right, grade 12, your time is up. The question was asking you to analyze the challenges faced by South Africa in the international trade when we are buying and selling between countries. What is the challenges that South Africa may be faced by? Right. So we are buying from different countries, right? So some of these countries, their currency is too strong. It is a problem for us. It becomes expensive to buy from there, right? So some of these countries are having big businesses that are producing at a low cost. They may be dumping their product in our country. So that is one of the challenges that we may be facing. Or as when we try to sell to them, they may find it that it's expensive to them because our cost of production is high. Or they may feel like it's an inferior goods. It's not of the quality that they want. That are some of the challenges that we may find. Right, so let's look at the marking guideline. Number 1 there, what you have, unfair international competition occurs due to developed countries supporting their business through subsidies, which makes their product cheaper compared to our product. So if they are being subsidized and their product is cheaper, it becomes unfair for us to compete with them because they are selling at a cheaper price and consumers prefer lower prices. Developed countries may export their product to South Africa at a very low price. This is dumping. So another problem is that they may dump their product in our country, which will now have a negative impact on our local business. They will shut down, they will go out of market because they cannot compete with those businesses that are dumping their product in our country. Exporting of South African products may be restricted to prevent the spread of diseases between countries. An example there is COVID-19. Sometimes exporting of goods may be restricted, which is a problem. It means that we won't have enough income. Quotas and embargo may limit South Africa's export volumes, which will decrease the foreign exchange, the inflow of foreign exchange. Some countries may put quotas and bans so that we don't sell to them. That will restrict our number of things that we can export to them, reducing our income. It is difficult for South Africa to sell agricultural product in developed countries due to subsidies provided by the government to agricultural producers. So most countries, developed ones, they are subsidizing their producers. So it's difficult to sell to them because already they are producing at a cheaper price that side. It may result in unstable exchange rate, causing a lot of uncertainties in planning for South African exporters. So unstable exchange rate that we have may cause uncertainties, and then we cannot plan well for exports, right? Because when there is unfavorable or unstable exchange rate, then that does not attract more people to buy from us. We are moving to question 3, your economic pursuit. 3.1.2, it says, why is it important to measure the performance of the economy? So why do we measure the performance of the economy while we're looking at the economic indicators, your social indicators, right? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to discuss this one. Why do we measure economic performance? Right, so 3.1.2, it was asking you, why is it important to measure the performance of the economy? Right, so we measure the performance of the economy so that we can determine suitable changes in the economic policies that need to be implemented as the economy is dynamic. So as the economy it keeps on changing, right? So we need suitable changes when it comes to economic policies as well, to implement correct policies. That's why we are measuring we are measuring the performance of the economy so that we can implement suitable changes. To ensure the effectiveness of economic policies that were implemented to improve the performance of the economy. So when we implement any policy, we need to evaluate it to measure how effective it is. So by measuring the effectiveness of this economic performance, we can improve the performance of the economy. If the policy is not working, then we scratch it out or we improve it by adding some things that we see that it lacks. To compare the performance of the country with its peer countries, so we measure performance so that we can compare the GDP of Botswana and South Africa. So the reason we are measuring the GDP is because we want to be able to compare between countries. To determine the contribution of different sectors to the economy, to check how are sectors contributing to the economy, agriculture sector, production, manufacturing, how are they contributing to the GDP, for example. To provide information about the economic condition to potential investors. Investors will want to know when they invest, they want to know about that economy. So when we are measuring it, at least we can give them an indication how we are performing. Right. Let's look at 3.2. So 3.2 is a data response question. You're going to study the extract below and answer the question that follows. Right, so 3.2.4 says, explain the impact of decrease in mineral price on the South African economy. So if there's a decrease in mineral price, what is the impact on South African economy? 3.2.5, how does South Africa benefit from being a member of BRICS? Right, so you have 5 minutes to answer these two questions. Let's look at your marking guideline. So the first question, 3.2.4, you were explaining the impact of a decrease in mineral price on South African economy. Right. Considering that we are an exporter of, for example, of gold, and we are the net exporter, is one of our discovery, and we are making money from it. So if the price of mineral like gold decrease, what will happen to the economy? It means we are going to sell it at a cheaper price, and then it means less money is coming to us. Export, point number 1, export earnings will decrease as price of mineral exports such as gold and platinum will decrease. Foreign demand for South African minerals will increase, improving the trade balance. So our price will be less. That will do what? Will reduce export earnings. We'll have less money. However, people from abroad will want to buy because the price has decreased. That will improve trade balance, meaning export will increase, right? So remember, for us to have a surplus in a BOP, export must be more than import. Import payment may also decrease as price of major import like oil will decrease. Right? So import payment may also decrease as price of major imports like oil will decrease. The cost of production for manufacturing business will decrease as raw material, mineral costs decrease. So the cost of production decreases when the raw material also decrease. Cost of generating electricity will decrease due to the low coal prices, right? Those are your possible answers, and remember, we accept any other relevant answer. 3.2.5, how does South Africa benefit from being a member of BRICS? Right, so from this trade relationship, how does South Africa benefit? So South Africa is trading, is having a relationship with big countries that can protect them. If there's no restrictions, then we may be protected, right? South Africa businesses can export their products to Brazil, Russia, India, China without any restrictions. Local consumers can import goods and services from Brazil at a lower, Brazil, Russia, India, and China at a lower cost. So number 1, we sell our product to these countries with no restriction, meaning our export will increase. Number 2, we can also buy from them, right? We can import from them at a lower cost. South Africa stands in a better position to attract foreign direct investment from those countries that we are partnering with. Your Brazil, Russia, India, and China. So we may, and now talking about BRICS now, we are having what we call BRICS Plus. So there are more countries that have been added to BRICS. But for now, let's just look at the question as it is and answer that using the countries that we have there. Being a member of BRICS improved the international relationship of the South African government. So we have a better relationship with other countries. South Africa have access to funds for developmental purposes for the new development bank. So as we are part of the BRICS, we do have additional funds. Right. Question 3.3. You study the information below and answer the question that follows. 3.3.4. You explain the benefit of proper sanitation for life expectancy. So what is the benefit of proper sanitation for life expectancy? Will it improve life expectancy? How? 3.3.5. How can high population growth influence the standard of living? How can the high population growth influence the standard of living? Right, you have 5 minutes to complete this. Then we look at the responses. Right, grade 12, let's look at our possible answers. 3.3.4, explain the benefit of proper sanitation for life expectancy. Life expectancy may increase because people will be less exposed to illness and diseases. So if there's proper sanitation, we'll be less exposed to illness and diseases that can improve our life expectancy. 3.3.5, how can high population growth influence the standard of living? So when the population growth increases, what will happen to the standard of living? So if we are having high population growth without economic growth, then our standard of living will deteriorate. It will decrease, right? Because there's many people who require more from the economy than it can provide. When population growth rate is above the real GDP, meaning it's more than the economic growth, the standard of living will decrease. High population may result in shortage of goods and services due to high demand. So high population will result in goods being scarce. There will be shortage of goods and services because there is more demand. So population must not be or grow faster than the economic growth, must not grow faster than our real GDP. More people may live in poverty as they fail to access employment opportunities. The government may fail to meet demand for public goods, leading to poor standard of living. Right, so those are the effect of high population growth in standard of living. Right, let's look at your 3.5. So 3.5 is the 8-mark question. How can export benefit South African economy? How can export? So export, it means we are selling our product abroad. So export brings income, income triggers more production as we're selling to other people. Then when there's production, so many answers can come from there. So at least I've given you a starting point, right? And then you have 8 minutes to complete 3.5. Then we look at the marking guideline. Right, grade 12, your time is up. Let's look at your responses. The question was asking you, how can export benefit South African economy? Right. So improving the quality of goods and services as business will become more innovative to produce world-class product. So if there's export, we become more innovative because we are not only producing for here, we are producing for the whole world. So we become more innovative and produce quality goods because we want to produce world-class products. Generating sale revenue in form of foreign exchange that can be used to pay for strategic imports such as oil. So we get more foreign exchange when exports is increasing. Increasing tax revenue for the government by expanding its tax base, right? So when we sell more, it means that government is also receiving the revenue through taxes. Improving economic efficiency as production will be done at the lowest possible average cost to penetrate global markets. So when we are exporting, we will be now more efficient because we'll be producing more. So there is mass production. Mass production leads us into what? Producing at the lowest possible cost when when there is mass production. So that will improve our economic efficiency. It will also lead in an increase in the real GDP. So we'll have what we call export-led economic growth. So as much as we are selling abroad, it means that there is production within the country. So that will increase what? Our real GDP and economic growth. And then that will expand what? Our export promotion. Will be having more growth due to what? Export-led economic growth. More people are demanding from us. So these are the possible answers that you may have, right? Remember, you are not only limited to this. So if there is a question that or a response that you have that you feel like it matches the question, then you may raise your hand and you'll be attended to. Right? So we have more possible answers here. Adding, so if there is more export, that can add value to our natural resources. So instead of us selling the natural resources as raw as they are, we start what? We start producing. That will be adding value to the natural resources of the country by processing them into the finished product that can be exported at the higher volumes. Right. So when we are selling raw materials, they become cheap and we sell it at the low prices than when we are selling goods that has been added value to. So product has been added value to, it means that we have produced from raw material to final goods. Creating more job opportunities through establishment of new industries. So when there is export, it means that we are going to establish more businesses and then that will create job opportunities. So job opportunities will increase. That is a benefit to the South African economy. This question is not only limiting to export, but then we're talking about what? The economy. Strengthening the value of local currency. As export increase, the supply of foreign currency. So when we export more, they are going to demand our currency, and then by demanding our currency, they will be supplying their currency, so it will increase our foreign currency. This will reduce the BOP problems by increasing export volumes and earnings. So when we export, it means that it will increase export more than the import. Then that will correct the BOP problems. If we are having a deficit, then that can be sorted by export, as we are exporting more and then we are getting income from that export. Any other relevant answer will be marked. If you are only listing, you'll be given 2 maximum marks for mere listing or just giving examples. Right, grade 12s. So we've covered your higher order questions when it comes to your paper 1. We looked at your 2.2.4, your 3.4 questions, your 0.5 question, 2.2.5, 2.3.5. We look at 2.5 and 3.5, and also on your 2.1.2, your 3.1.2. Those questions are not questions that you are having to list or remembering. You need to think and evaluate, give effects, right? So those are what we call middle and higher order question. However, we do have these easy marks that we mentioned that you may find. So your section A, it looks like this. This is the 30 marks, which is compulsory. It includes both macroeconomics and economic pursuit. And then section B, you have 3 questions. Question 2, 3, 4, you choose only 2. So 1 question per main topic. Question 2 is macroeconomics. Question 3 is economic pursuit. Question 4 is mixture of both economic pursuit and macroeconomics. And then you have your section C, which is your essay. There are 2 questions there. Question 5 is macroeconomics, and question 6 is your economic pursuits. Right, grade 12, thank you very much for joining in today's class. I will see you next time. Keep well.